through his writings, which will always be with us, I'm always coming back to those things that he taught me.
It's neat to tell Doc's story because it's a really unlikely one. Doc was a fisherman early on because they had to eat. His family was poor and he provided fish for the family to eat. He told me the most beautiful fish he ever caught in his early life was a brook trout.
His life was about fishing. He got drafted into the Army, took his rod along with his rifle. And when he got to Japan, he started catching char, native char, and wondering, how are these things related to this brook trout that I grew up around?
So he was already starting to make these beginning thoughts in a young scientist's mind of zoogeography and systematics and how things were related.
What he ended up doing in his career really was to redefine the way we think about trout. In the 1950s and 1960s, most anglers thought of trout as one species. And most fisheries management agencies raised fish and stocked them widely around.
For a lot of anglers, a trout was a trout was a trout, and what species it was, whether it was a brown trout, rainbow, wasn't that critical. But I think Dr. Behnke was one of the really leading forces in getting people aware of this amazing diversity of fish across the western United States and beyond.
Before he came, we didn't have a legacy of trout conservation at Colorado State University.
He really brought a prominence to this department in terms of salmonid fishes and fisheries. He played a mighty role in recognizing native cutthroat diversity, training students to appreciate that diversity, who then went on to these agencies, and through the years, these disciples of Doc Behnke that have managed these fish, perpetuated their existence.
Without him here at Colorado State University, we would probably have lost much of the diversity of trout throughout the West because nobody would have known why it was important.
The other big contribution to me was the work he did to convey in a very clear way why these fish were valuable. He started to write this column, about trout. He had a crowd of 150,000 in Trout Unlimited.
I can't tell you how many of our members would talk about, that's the first thing they would open to in every issue, was to see what Dr. Behnke was writing about this time.
And what a better audience than that to learn about conservation and promote it and get people behind it.
He took all of this knowledge that he had generated and he offered it to the whole world. And that has produced an angling public which is much more sophisticated. And that comes back around to ask for those kinds of resources. We want native trout.
There will never be anybody like him again, probably, but we need more people that are close to him to educate students and understand these cold water systems. And I think his legacy will hopefully provide our department a continuing emphasis in this area.
And to have new people who are willing to take that sort of sophisticated view that we're going to need in our future to be able to have trout in rivers in Colorado.
are places in the world where mountains still hold many secrets. Some of those secrets are the very beginnings of water, and some are hidden within the water itself. But there are those who seek to reveal those secrets and who have learned where to look to find them. This is a story of one of those well-kept secrets, a journey into the rhythms of water, and it is a story about shrimp. Our story begins like any other school day in the small Puerto Rican town of Palmer. Where a middle school science class is learning how to explore rivers and water.
La regla número 1 en la investigación es que hay que ser un buen observador. Yo quiero que ustedes sean en el día de hoy excelentes observadores. Ok, pues estamos listos, nos vamos entonces. Voy a tomar agua.
It's sometimes easy to forget our connection to water and the places it comes from. But every once in a while, some of us get a chance to rediscover it. And so these young explorers from a small town between a rainforest and an ocean begin a journey that will reveal their own water story. And here in Puerto Rico, it will lead to a place called El Yunque, the mountain, where high peaks capture the ocean's rains, filtering each drop through lush forests before shaping them into rugged streams that cascade steeply back down to the sea. It is a forest that is protected for the diverse plants and animals that live here, and for those to come and experience its wonders. And for decades, this is where ecologists have come to study this ecosystem and discover the secrets within its waters.
Todas las semanas contamos camarones. Esto es para establecer la población que existe en este lugar. Llevamos desde el 1988. Es el 109, ajá. Aquí no hay mediano, ¿verdad? Sí, hay mediano.
When we set 34 traps here, we captured 300-400 shrimps.
We usually start with the microbrachium because those are the ones who have the quela, como se dice quela?
The claw, the
claws. Uh-huh.
In this stream, we have three main families: the Athias, Xiphocaris, and Macrobrachium. Athias are the filter feeders. Xiphocaris are the shredder, and Macrobrachium are the predators.
Esto es un proyecto a largo plazo para ir viendo cómo fluctúa la población de camarones, porque es muy importante la interacción de ellos con el ecosistema acuático de estas quebradas.
All the shrimps that we have here, they are amphidermous. They release the larvae here, and the larvae go to the estuary, stay there 30, 90 days, and then start the upstream migration.
Just imagine that every one of these shrimp made their own journey here to El Yunque as a small larva, all the way from the estuary, the entrance to the ocean many miles away, fighting the river's swift currents, hiding from fish and other predators, climbing waterfalls until they reach the high mountain streams in places like El Yunque. This is their ancient sanctuary where they can live and breathe in the cool, cleansed waters of the rainforest for many decades, and where they are nourished by the rainforest itself. There are the graceful and ghost-like Siphocarid shrimp that swim and dart through the pools to pick apart the leaves and branches that are washed in by heavy rains. There are the flamboyant Ateid shrimp that find the swifter currents, where they reach out their fan-like filters to capture the drifting scraps, and can even use these filters to sweep up particles from streambed stones. And there are the massive macrobrachium shrimp that patrol the pools, looking for other shrimp, fish, and insects to prey on. These little-known shrimp are a collective workforce that do an important job in these rivers. They keep them clean. Every bite, every filter, every sweep are part of what produces the crystal clear waters that are passed downstream. It's been this way for generations, and their own young will be released to drift downstream to the estuary and make the same journey of their parents. This is the life cycle of the shrimp of El Yunque and of many other tropical streams in the world. And it all relies on a continuous, unbroken pathway of water from the headwaters to the sea. But that pathway has been lost in most of Puerto Rico's rivers. And for many shrimp, their journey ends long before they reach the safe headwaters of El Yunque.
Just like other national forests, El Yunque has a number of dams outside of the forest that act more as an obstacle for our shrimp species. We've noticed that there's a huge congregation of freshwater shrimp at the base of these kinds of obstacles. And so to get them from where this stops them up to the headwaters is all that's required. And the opportunity is there for national forests to work with communities surrounding the forest to provide a system which allows the shrimp to actually get over these structures. Many studies have shown that if you reduce the population of these shrimp, the water quality goes down.
La mentalidad del barrio Manizales es que quiere que el agua sea lo más natural posible.
Basically, we're building a pool that will help Efrain to manage the water production. At the same time, we improve the passage for the shrimps.
Aprendimos que para poder proteger la vida silvestre del río como tal, pues además de la mejora que teníamos que hacer, teníamos que proveer que la vida silvestre del río tuviera su curso también.
And that's one of the ecosystem services that these freshwater shrimp play here. They clean the water. They're filter feeders. And so, in a sense, they're helping out the community by providing clean water that originates from the forest that support not only wildlife, but also human life.
And so, thanks to a national forest and water-conscious communities like Maizales, the migratory pathways of rivers are beginning to be protected in Puerto Rico, and an ancient water purification system is being maintained. And the young shrimp of El Yunque can continue to make their journeys from their coastal nurseries to the safe headwaters. Just like those young adventurers from Palmer, whose journey to El Yunque is just beginning.
Buenos días. Buenos días a todos. Bienvenidos a la estación experimental del Verde. ¿Habían estado aquí antes? No, ¿verdad? Bueno, y ya saben, ¿verdad? Están bien interesados por la conversación que tuvimos, que ustedes quieren aprender todo sobre ¿qué? Camarones, el agua y la calidad de esa agua, ¿verdad? Porque para eso los voy a dejar con el profesor, el doctor Omar Pérez.
Bienvenidos a la estación, como ya bien le dijo Noelia. ¿Por qué es importante el agua? ¿Cuál es la importancia del agua para nosotros? ¿Ah? Sí, muy bien, el agua es vida. Bueno, vamos nosotros. Ok, pues dale,
Bien, y tienen que ser excelentes ¿qué? Observadores.
Y eso fue nuevo para estos estudiantes, a pesar de que están aquí en la falda del bosque, venir y estar dentro del bosque, dentro de ese cuerpo de agua, dentro de la quebrada. Pues miren, el Yunque, aparte de que es el nombre que se le da a la montaña, es un área, es un bosque, como dijeron ustedes, que es un área forestal, pertenece al sistema de bosques de Estados Unidos, es un área que está protegida, es una reserva. Noelia, lo metemos ahora a hacer snorkeling. Los que quieran hacer snorkeling. Espérate, déjame poner el pulsera. Y ellos lo saben y hoy vieron por qué es importante el agua. No solamente el agua, el bosque. No es solamente el bosque, los organismos que viven en el agua, los organismos que viven en el bosque. ¿Quiénes se encargan de limpiarme el agua? Los camarones, o sea que los camarones que ustedes vieron, sean los trituradores o los filtradores, mantienen el agua limpia. Teniendo estos organismos, prestándole más atención a ellos y viendo dónde se encuentran y cómo mantenerlos, la calidad de agua aquí en la isla mejoraría, mucho mejor. Y eso es lo que estuvimos haciendo hoy con nuestros 15 niños de la escuela Palmer. Y que aseguro que no van a ver el bosque como lo vieron hoy. No van a volver a ver un río como lo vieron hoy. Y eso es lo que queremos hacer. Impactar, cambiarle esa vida a esos estudiantes. Creando tal vez pequeños científicos. Creándole curiosidad de lo que hay aquí en el Yunque.
Water journeys always take you further than you expected to go. And our young explorers will take with them a deeper understanding of where their water comes from and what creates it. And that protecting this precious resource means protecting forest like El Yunque. And it also means protecting the pathways that rivers create wherever they flow.
There's a special place within the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. A river that weaves through these ancient ridges and collects an intricate lacework of creeks and streams that move water through these mountains like blood through veins. It's called the Little Tennessee River. It's part of the Great Tennessee River system that carries these waters to the Mississippi River and on to the Gulf of Mexico. And it contains some of the last stretches of large, free-flowing river within the Tennessee Basin. Rivers like the Nantahala, Tuckasegee, Oconaluftee, Tellico, and hundreds of other beautiful streams that run through national forests, Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and communities and rural lands throughout the region. And it is a biological treasure. With a watershed of over 2,500 miles, the creeks, streams, and rivers that build the Little Tennessee River are filled with life. Some of the highest diversity of fish and amphibians in North America are found here. Some of them iconic, some of them almost mythical, but all of them are beautiful. And part of an ecosystem that provides some of the region's richest recreation, tourism economies, and our most precious natural resource, clean water. And it's why in 2015 this river system was designated as the country's first native fish conservation area, where local people and organizations are taking a greater pride and a greater responsibility to care for these precious aquatic creatures and the habitats they depend on. It's a community effort, and it's bringing more national attention to this river system and inspiring a higher level of conservation effort so that our great-grandchildren can experience the same living rivers that we do. So when you see that river, when you cross those creeks, and when you consider every piece of land in this watershed that connects to those living waters, remember, you're in native fish country. There's nowhere else like it, and there may be no other place where we can have a greater opportunity to protect these waters while sustaining and developing our communities and our way of life.
As a young kid, I wanted to be Indiana Jones and a marine biologist.
Today is the very last day that I ever think of you.
I was the youngest of four, and all my siblings were three-sport athletes, and that was just the narrative that I was going to follow. It just so happened that I was a really athletic little girl, and sports consumed my life. I played collegiate volleyball at UMD. So when I got to college, it just completely took over because it was my job. I was getting paid. I was on scholarship to play the sport. I guess I could compare it to like kind of feeling like a celebrity. Having all your meals paid for and having all your travel expenses paid for and always going to places looking the same. Like we always had like travel suits and we had just this culture wrapped around it. And, you know, your teammates were your family and your coach was your family. And then, you know, when you graduate, it's like the worst breakup ever. It's like that breakup that you feel where there's no explanation. You're old news. See you later. I've moved on to the next thing. I've always been very physical and very intense. So I think like volleyball, fly fishing, like they're both very intense sports. Like you need to be intense and kind of obsessed. It wasn't until I graduated from college and moved to Mankato for work. I was working for the YWCA, and as a leadership trip, we were scheduled to do a trip with an outfitter for kayaking. And I was really struggling. I was really struggling with my identity. Like, who was I? Like, I have all these skills that seemingly aren't transferable. I can hit a volleyball really hard and I can jump really high, but what does that do for me? And so going on that kayaking trip, it was like a slap to my heart. Like, this is who you are. This is who you were when you were a kid. You were running around in creeks. You were running around in forests barefoot. You know, you were interacting with the environment around you. So that's when I started to rethink about this.
There's a place, a garden for the young, life and dance and safety among the shimmering light and the shade of the tree. Still a bite and paradise is lost. With darkened hearts, we didn't count the cost. Forgot all we left behind. Life picks up speed before you know. We hold on for dear life, oh Lord. We're too proud to turn back now. And one day it all falls down and breaks our heart, and it breaks our crown. Brings us down where we sit. It's gonna be alright. Turn around and let me back in the light. Enjoy the calm. Like a bird in the morning sun. And all will be made well once again.
Never in my dreams would I have thought I would be tying flies at a fly shop. That's something that I've always gravitated towards, is working for small local businesses that you can truly have a pulse of how the community is doing, and I need that. So my other job is I am a outdoor educator at a nature-based preschool. And I work with 3 to 5-year-olds with a nature play focus. It's been proven that if you foster that connection at a young age, it'll hopefully be carried in through adulthood. In our world now, we need that. We need compassion and we need empathy towards our greater systems, you know, towards our animals, towards our plants, towards our air and our water. Fly fishing and being on water or in or near water is a basic fundamental for me as a person. When I kind of got into that energy of playing basketball and volleyball and softball and just becoming obsessed and becoming completely identified as this person that was playing these sports, being a collegiate athlete was the end-all goal. I would say now, at this current point in my life, I feel the most grounded in who I am as a person that I felt in a long time. I always tell the parents of the children that I teach that the way you are when you're 3 to 5 years old is who you are as a human being. You know, unfiltered, untouched by the cruelty or uncruelty of the world. And so really hang on to that. And so I finally feel that I've kind of reconnected with my little girl self. Yeah.
And all will be made well. And all
Water is part of our everyday life in Central Oregon. Hey, thanks. In fact, we all rely on water for the food we eat, for our wildlife, for our local economy, and our electricity. Across the country and around the world, water is one of the most important resources that we have. But with so many people, animals, businesses, cities, habitats all relying on this precious resource, when one group doesn't use it responsibly, that can lead to big problems for everyone. But hey, this is Oregon. Always raining, plenty of water, right? Oh, right. This is Central Oregon, the high desert. And deserts are, well, you know, dry, which makes our water supply even more important to use responsibly. So, who's using water here in Central Oregon? And what are we doing to make sure there's enough water for everyone, including you and me? We all rely on farmers for our food, and farmers rely on water. Water for irrigation is managed by dams, so it can be stored when it's not needed. Then released when farming season is underway. It's released from the river to irrigation canals, and then right to the farm and their irrigation systems. It may sound simple, but it's not. Hey, wait up!
Without irrigation, you can't grow much in Central Oregon. It's just too dry of a climate. But with irrigation, agriculture can be a really productive lifestyle. Water is our most valuable resource on the farm, without question. And so we minimize any sort of waste and conserve water in any way we can. On our farm, all of our carrots are drip irrigated, which saves us about 50% of water compared to overhead sprinklers or overhead pivots.
And he can control and monitor that irrigation from his computer or even his cell phone. That's pretty cool. Farmers have to figure out just how much water they need, while still leaving enough water in the river for all the other users. Tourism is the single largest industry in Central Oregon, so it's no secret that a lot of folks come here to play.
Thousands of jobs in Central Oregon are created because visitors come here to play in our water. Tourism brings in over $1 billion for our economy.
$1 billion?
And so we need enough water flowing to make sure everyone can kayak, raft, stand-up paddleboard, golf, and fish. It's important to have enough water flow for folks to be able to do all the things that they love to do when they come to Central Oregon. We also have to make sure that when we use the water for recreation, we have to take care of it.
Take care of the river?
We need to keep the trash out of the river because it takes a lot more than river flow to keep our river healthy.
I'm afraid it's not looking good. You are experiencing anhydration, exsication.
Wait, how? What does that mean?
Oh, it means that you're dehydrated.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Okay, so I'm not actually sick, but did you know that just like people, rivers can be really sick or even be considered dead? Just like your doctor monitors your health, there are all sorts of scientists who keep an eye on our rivers.
Well, rivers carry water and life to the ecosystem because all organisms depend on water for life. So it's very similar to the veins and the arteries in the body, which are carrying blood to organs in the body, keeping them alive.
The water is the fundamental building block of life on our landscape. It's what all ecosystems need, it's what all people need.
So just add water? Oh.
It's not quite that easy. That's a good start, but there's other things as well. Just by looking to see if the pieces of the ecosystem are there. Are the bugs there? Are the fish there? Are the birds there? Are the amphibians there? And when we see all the pieces of the ecosystem there, we know we're making progress.
But before the scientists, the kayakers, the farming irrigation systems, and definitely before middle school even existed, it was local tribal members who used the water and kept it healthy.
In Warm Springs language, they say, Chush iwa out ni, the water is sacred. And that's the way it is to all the tribes around the world. As people that share this earth, it's our responsibility as stewards of this land to take care of our finite resources.
Water isn't just part of their culture, it's also part of their everyday life.
We have many different kind of roots that we still gather. We have a lot of berries that we gather that come from the land. We also have a pantry of medicines, medicinal knowledge that we've never forgotten that come from the land. And we wouldn't have those things if it wasn't for the water.
So there you have it. We all rely on water and have to use it responsibly for our whole system to work. And if one person doesn't use it responsibly, well, that can lead to big problems for everyone. Oh shoot, I forgot someone.
I'm Patrick Rivas. I'm the Water Resources Manager for the City of Bend.
That's a mouthful. Municipality employees, like Patrick, have to get the waters from the rivers to thousands of homes, businesses, and buildings here in Central Oregon. And it's up to us to use that water responsibly.
The largest use of water in a typical residential home is outdoor water for landscapes. So a typical lawn needs 30 inches of rain every year. And the transformation of your old water hog landscapes to more native landscapes use less water and less maintenance.
But don't stop there. We can make changes inside our homes as well. An old toilet can use up to 6 gallons of water per flush. 6 gallons! And showers use 2 gallons of water per minute, which means every second counts. Hey! So there you have it. Here in Central Oregon, there's a lot of people and wildlife that rely on water, and we all play important roles in using our water responsibly so our river system stays healthy. So what can you do?